Hello. Hello. How are you all? It's 12 o'clock. We are going to talk. I'm on both Instagram and Facebook today, so I'm going to be switching a little bit back and forth from camera to camera. We're going to talk about scheduling today. So for those of you who didn't sign up for the I don't know, it seems weird to call it something about self-care a challenge when we're looking for down regulation, but for those of you who didn't sign up, we're talking about how to use really serious, sensible, useful, practical strategies for self-care that are more about the function of your life, less about, hi, Ruth. Hi there. Hello. More about making the quality of your life better and less about the little day-to-day things like, oh, drink more water and have a bubble bath, because bubble baths are great. Water is great. Please drink water. It's really helpful, but it's not necessarily going to help you manage your time and your energy. So we're looking at 5 different themes over the course of the week. And today we're starting with what I think is a really fundamental part of self-care and a fundamental part of managing your energy well, which is your schedule. So I originally designed this event for movement teachers, and then as we were going along through the development process, I realized that in fact this applies to lots of different people in different kinds of working scenarios. So the first thing we want to talk about is, does your schedule work for you, or are you working for your schedule? Are you trying to meet the needs of your schedule? And sometimes what that comes down to is your client load. If you're not working, maybe it's your kid load, it's your volunteer task load, it's your family event and management load, right? There are lots of different ways and different reasons that we schedule our time. So the first thing that I think is really helpful and useful to do is to really honestly assess your schedule. What do you do all day, every day? What do you do? And this is a little bit different depending on whether you are a movement teacher or a body worker or somebody who is looking at this as a work schedule, and whether you're looking at this for your personal life. But in either case, I think it's really helpful to include everything you do. If you're self-employed, you have a little bit more control over your schedule. So some of what we're going to talk about today makes a little bit more sense. If you work for somebody else where your schedule is dictated to you, you have less flexibility, but you could still maybe look at how you're batching your work and how you're organizing your work, and if you can improve that. So if you're on Facebook, I have a link here in the comments where you can get the download that includes some of the documents here. And let me see if I can add it here. I can. I just have to do a little scrolling. If you sign up for this now, then you'll miss the first couple of emails, but you'll get the rest of them. So that might be helpful. And so one of the things that I included in one of the original emails was a blog post that's talking about saying no. That you really do sometimes need to say no in order to get to yes, to get to the things that you really want to do. And that can be hard, and it can be hard in the context of a small business, because the temptation to say yes to every client is so overwhelming, because you want or need the money, because you want to be that teacher that everybody goes to, or that massage therapist, or that osteopath, or that, whoever, social worker, whoever it is, whatever you do. But the reality is, the people who want to see you are just going to keep wanting to come and see you. It's not their job to manage your schedule. So having the boundaries and having the capacity and the ability to say no and to organize your schedule in a way that works for you, that's your job. That's our job. It's not our client's responsibility to look after us. It's their job to look after themselves. It's their job to do everything they can to get you to say, yes, you'll book them in for that session, or that you will agree to run that charity event, or you will agree to take your kid to the mall, or whatever things there are that are being asked of you. So knowing where you can and could say yes and no is easier to do if you really actually know what your schedule is. So one of the things I suggested was to write down everything that you do. What does your schedule look like now, currently? And compare that to your ideal schedule. So if you were to separate yourself from everything that's happening in your real life, the things that are happening right now, and you were to write down how many hours a day do you want to work? How many hours a day do you want to spend with your family? How many hours a day do you want to be moving and exercising? How many hours a day do you want to be doing charity and volunteer work? These are all components of your life, and they all need to be honored and valued, and they can only be honored and valued if you are putting enough time into your schedule to do them. And sometimes that means saying no to some things in order to say yes to something else. So I like this little exercise of like, what does your ideal schedule look like? And if you are, in fact, a movement teacher or a body worker or a social worker or a therapist or somebody who is in some way self-employed, you're an artisan, you're making your own goods, you have an Etsy shop, whatever it might be, when you put together your how am I working schedule and how much do I want to work schedule, you need to take into account all the extra underneath stuff. So one of the things that I talked about in terms of the movement teacher component of this, and again, this applies if you are making pottery or honestly, if you're doing volunteer work and part of that volunteer work is producing an element, you're doing the social media for your kids' soccer club. There's a lot of underneath work, and we need to think of this all as work, that it's a small business. And that all of these elements and components are important when you're figuring out your schedule. It's not enough to say, I teach for 9 hours a week, or I do massage for 9 hours a week, or I see therapy clients for 9 hours a week. You have to also look at the bookkeeping and the note-taking and the creating homework videos or documents, the marketing, the keeping track of your taxes, the meetings you might have with your accountant, the meetings that you might have with your virtual assistant, all of the other things that you do that are connected to what feels like the productive working part, you have to include all of those when you're looking at what your actual life looks like and what your ideal life looks like. And I don't know what that's going to be for you. It's different for everybody. Many years ago, I realized I was teaching 30 clients a week, doing 30 clients or classes a week, in addition to the taking of the notes and the making of the homework videos and the marketing and the running the studio and and I realized that doesn't work for me. I know there are people who can teach that much. I'm not one of them. I realized that my clients weren't getting the best of me, my family, my friends, and myself. And like nobody was winning on that schedule. And I scaled back quite dramatically, which meant I also had to raise my rates because I need to make a living. So we're going to talk about money tomorrow. We're going to talk about how to afford your schedule tomorrow. So I think it's helpful to do it's like we can all guesstimate how much we work, but it's useful to do an actual trial. Have whatever works for you, a notebook or your phone or some kind of digital tracking, and take note of how long it takes you to do everything every day over the course of a week, which is it's an investment in time to keep track of this stuff for sure. But you won't know. You'll think you spend 3 hours doing this and it will turn out to be 7. Or you'll think you're investing 2 hours in this growth part of your business and realize that, nope, you actually only manage 40 minutes over the course of the whole week because you were busy doing 47 other things. So keep track. And then when you have that realistic assessment of how you spend your week, because one day is not really enough because tasks change, right, from day to day. When you have figured out your whole week, then you can start to make these realistic assessments about how you're spending your time. And you can start to look at, I spend way more time doing this than I thought I did. And here's a favorite one of mine. I look at my schedule and I'm like, oh, today I'm going to do this. And then I realize that regularly this doesn't get finished. I run out of time to do a particular task. I'm not assigning enough time to do particular things. I find that getting into my, the kind of the boring nitty gritty nuts and bolts of things, of answering emails, takes up way more time than I think it's going to. Social media always takes more time than I think it's going to. And so I have to make sure that I'm realistic about how I assess that time, and then decide that, I'm only going to do 2 reels this week, not 5 reels this week, because reels actually take me quite a long time for whatever reason. I might be not very good at them. Making homework videos for clients takes a really long time. And if you make homework videos for clients and you put them on YouTube as a private link, you can see how often they're actually using them. And so I have clients for whom I do not make videos because I know that they say they want them, but they don't actually use them. And so we put the video on their phone during their session, or we record it on Zoom during their session, and then it takes me less time out of my life. So look at how you're investing your time and what the returns are on how you spend that time. You want to schedule for efficiency. And this can be a real challenge. And I know that we're going to look at a couple of different things. One is scheduling your clients. And again, whether they're movement clients or massage clients or whatever, I feel like my hair is not doing what I want it to do, and I can see it right in front of me. It's very distracting. So your brain, it costs energy and space in your brain to change tasks. To do more than multitasking is not as useful as we think it is, and it takes more brain power to be doing a bunch of things at the same time. So it's incredibly helpful if you can stack your week so that you do a bunch of the same tasks together. So if we think about clients, whatever kind of clients they may be, you want to be able to rack and stack your clients in a schedule that kind of lumps them together so that your brain is in teaching mode or massaging mode or whatever mode it is that you're using. And so this becomes challenging because you're also trying to work with the client's schedules. And clients will say, well, I can't do that. I can only do this. And then potentially you end up with this very scattered week where you're going back and forth and you've got an hour here and then a 2-hour break and then 2 hours and then a 1-hour break, which can be super frustrating. So my first thing is, as we're heading back into real life post-COVID-ish, I hope, fingers crossed, this is an excellent time to massage your schedule. So for example, at my studio, we're trying to mostly keep it so there's one teacher at a time in the studio, and we're trying to block the days. So I have the most private clients, and we're not running classes. We're only running private clients. So I have scheduled myself so that I'm in the studio on Tuesdays and Fridays. And I'm online with other clients Wednesdays, Thursdays, and I have classes on Saturdays. That required moving some people. But they're quite understanding at the moment of moving things. They understand because they're doing it in their own lives. They're doing it in their own businesses. Everybody is having to change things as a result of coming back into live, in-person, in-studio, in-office business stuff. So now is a good time to reach out to your clients and say, due to the way things are changing, I'm really trying to make this the most convenient I possibly can for the greatest number of people. Would it be possible for you to move your schedule to, and then give them 3 or 4 options that work better for you? And the answer might be no. And if you need that client and you need that money, then you're going to have to work around that. But if you frame it in such a way that they have choices and options, and you can, try and put them before or after another client in a way that's more effective and efficient for you, that's brilliant. The more you can batch clients into more convenient time allocations for yourself, the better. Again, it's not their job to reach out and make your schedule work better for you. It's their job to make their schedule work better for them. But if you ask, you may find that they have some flexibility and that now is a really good time to jump on that. The other part of batching and blocking your time is all the other stuff. The social media, the accounting, the writing and creating content, the writing blogs, whatever it is that you do to support the other parts of your business. And so if you can schedule out, this is an admin day, right? Because maybe you've managed to clear up a chunk of time. It's very disconcerting because on my phone I look like I'm at normal color temperature, and on my computer. I look like I'm very blue. I'm on the boat, just so you know, this is the boat. So where was I? Oh yeah, so when you're scheduling your tasks, same thing applies. It's really helpful if you can block out, I'm going to spend 2 hours doing content creation. I'm going to spend an hour doing my financials for the week. I'm going to spend an hour writing and posting a blog post. I'm going to spend 45 minutes making a YouTube video and getting that, like whatever it is that you do. Instead of plunking in 10 minutes here and 15 minutes there and 10 minutes here and 15 minutes there, it can be very helpful. So this is where this looking at how you spent your entire week is really useful, that you can be present in whatever it is that you're doing for enough of a chunk of time to finish that task or try and finish that task. So does this make sense? Does anybody have any questions? Anybody wondering about their own personal schedule and how it unrolls and how they would like to change it or modify it, or if I have any thoughts about how to do that? Mm-hmm. No? Okay. I think I can see all the comments. So, yeah. So for those of you who looked at the document that has the kind of the scheduling part of the self-care document, I talked about an online booking system. So if you work for a studio and somebody else is booking your time, great. But if you are you truly are a solopreneur and you do not yet have an online booking system, I would really, really suggest it after some years challenged with scattered schedules. So Famita, does that make sense that now, do you think you could use the changes that everybody's doing with COVID to be able to massage even a little bit of that? If you could move one client a week out of, because I know you work 7 days a week, and I know that's the case for lots of teachers, right? You may only be working 1 hour, you may only be teaching one client, but that still makes it a work day. So if you could shift even one person, is there a way that would clear a little bit of space? And it's hard, but we could chat together about sort of putting together the wording for an email if you want, about how to ask them if they've got that space. We could take a look at your schedule if you like. And the online booking can be very helpful for that, because then it's not somebody saying, oh, I'd really like to come now, and then you actually have to muster up the fortitude to say no. Sorry, my feet are falling asleep because I've been squatting now for 25 minutes. If you have an online booking system, then your available time is there. They can book into it or they don't. And I usually say, if there's nothing in my schedule that works for you, feel free to reach out. And then I will either offer up a space that I know I have available, or I'll ask them to wait. I'll say, I'm so sorry. And this is happening a lot right now. I had somebody reach out and be like, oh, can I come in tonight? No, my waiting list at this point is until the middle or the end of September. Okay. So just for those of you who are on Facebook, not Instagram, I have students who receive Zoom links and then days later say they've lost it. Can I send it again? Ideas, please. Yeah, that's a good one. So Maria, do you have a website where you could set up a private page that they have access to that has all the Zoom links with the date, and then they could go back and find it themselves, so that you could almost have like an auto responder on your email with a frequently asked questions that says, one of the frequently asked questions is, I've lost the Zoom link for my class. Answer is, hit this link that will take you to the private page on my website where you can find replay links. I program a reminder link for an hour before the class. So Maria, are you talking about being able to arrive for the existing class, or is this a Zoom link that you send them afterwards so that they can see a replay? So while you ponder that, I will say the other thing that can be helpful is, again, this kind of planning out of every single element of your day. partly for your own observation, partly to make sure that you don't miss things. So just for full transparency, you're not that techie. Then I would say then and you'll have to update this each time you have a link, but put a little note somewhere in your phone, somewhere in a notes section. That's just so it'll be like an instant autoresponder where you have, hey, sorry you lost the link, here it is again. And then all you have to do is copy and paste. And it might mean you have to do it 15 times, but at least you're not writing it out individually, and you just update the link each time it's a new link to send. Would that be helpful? And yeah, a reminder link. So maybe Ruth and Maria, maybe you could chat with each other about that reminder link for the hour before the class. Yeah. Zoom, you're on Zoom? Because I'm pretty sure you can program reminders right through Zoom. We send them through the studio. We should chat later, Maria. We'll chat later. So I am not an organized human. Like, I'm really not. I'm not an organized person. I'm really bad at follow through. And so I have to work at this stuff, and I'm frequently trying new things to try and get more organized in terms of my business stuff. I remember somebody being very surprised about this. So I'm just being like super transparent. So I'm trying the Michael Hyatt full focus method starting in September. I'm not trying to be organized this summer because mostly I'm hanging out on my boat and I'm trying to actually do what I'm saying to you guys, which is that you have to have downtime and you have to have relaxing time. And I'm trying to actually do that for myself, which is a little bit of a new thing that I'm also not very good at. But I'm going to give it a go. So I'll let you know how that works. And they have a so this is a practice for me about like super scheduling and what's important. What are your goals for the day? How the goals for the day meet the goals for the quarter, for the year, so that I stay better on track. And I think that's also a helpful way to stay connected to your scheduling, is if you know what your goal is, if you know what your plan is to achieve over the course of what's the 3 most important things you're going to accomplish in any given day. When you look at your schedule, if 5 of the things on your schedule do not support these 3 things that you're trying to accomplish today, then do they really belong on your schedule? Do they really belong on your schedule today? Or, as we shift through to the last thing on the list, do they belong on your schedule at all? So this does not apply to everybody for sure. If you're a solopreneur and you're just trying to keep it all together and make it through the week and make enough money to, pay the essentials, then a virtual assistant is not on your list yet. But if you are at a place where you're like, I am making enough money, but I do not have enough time, or there are things that you really suck at or you really hate, because we all have things that we suck at and we all have things that we hate. If those things that you don't like or are not particularly good at are not part of your sweet spot, your special sauce, the thing that makes you awesome, is it you that should be doing it? Because they probably take you way more time than it would take somebody who that's their thing. So getting a virtual assistant for a couple of hours a week can be a game changer in terms of your schedule. If you can offload something that takes you 4 hours to do, and because you keep getting distracted and you get overwhelmed, or you need to go to Google 14 times to figure out how to do it, getting someone who knows how to do it to be the one to do it might turn out to be a good cost benefit ratio, because you can then spend that time doing the thing that you make money at. You can do the teaching or the one-to-one session. You can teach the class with 12 people in it, right? You can spend better time not fussing with, in my case, it was the accounting. The first person that I hired as part of my team was an accountant. Accounting and bookkeeping are not my thing. I don't do them very well. And I super spent a really long time trying to figure out how to do it. It just doesn't come easily to me. So spending the money to hire somebody to do the bookkeeping and the accounting made my schedule work so much better. And I could take, I mean, it was a really straight trade-off. It's going to cost me this much to hire the accountant. I'm saving this many hours, not making myself insane trying to do this work. I take on one more client and boom, that's paid for. And my stress level has decreased. And I know that when it comes to tax time, the work is done and it's done well and it's done properly. That in and of itself saves a whole bunch of time and fussing and energy at a particular time in the year. So there's a lot to be said for, and this goes right back to taking a week to fully detail out exactly how you spend your time. Because when you look at that time and you see, oh my God, I spend so much more time doing this than I thought I did, it's a really good cue that perhaps this is a good thing for you to offload, or you want to schedule it differently, or it's taking you a lot of time because you're doing it in 10-minute chunks and you have to keep reminding yourself of where you were and getting fired back up to it every time. Like that takes you 10 minutes every time you start. And it would go better, whatever it is, if you scheduled it into one, 2-hour chunk once a week instead of 12 20-hour chunks. So that takes me to the end of my list. Do you have any questions? Any other questions? And Maria, we will talk about seeing if we can sort out a strategy for you. And Famita, we will talk about scheduling. Anybody else got anything that they are wondering about? So if you hadn't joined up to the 5-day event, today is the last day. You can still sign up for it. I've included the link in the comments below, and that gets you the full self-care workbook that you can go through, and gets you the emails that include some links and some resources and some ideas about how to do each of the things. And I will be here again tomorrow at noon. So tomorrow at noon, we're talking about money, right? So one of the things about managing your schedule might be that you're too busy and you need to do what I did and shift from a lot of private clients to get those clients to go to classes, to fill up the classes and have a lighter, teaching schedule. But then you need to manage the money and how much you're getting paid. So tomorrow we're going to talk about how to navigate raising your rates well, when you should navigate your rates, what you should raise your rates to. And then if you really can't raise your rates any higher, what else can you do to have an ongoing income stream to support your teaching or your massage or your whatever else it is that you do. So thank you so much for coming. Thanks. It was really lovely to know that there were some people out there, and I'll see you tomorrow. So if you have, I'll be saving these and posting them as replays. If you are, if you're watching later and you have questions, or you watched now and you have a question later, just pop them into the comments below. I will go back and check in on them later on today. All right. Take it easy. Have a great day. Bye. And this one. And this one. Oh, wait. I can't do that with my fingers.